I think the largest issue in that conflict are these so-called four regions: Donbass, Crimea, the names Lugansk, and there's two others. They're Russian-speaking.
Yep.
There have been referendums where the overwhelming majority of the people have indicated that they want to be under Russian rule.
Yes.
I think that's the key issue in the conflict. So that's the first thing. That when that gets settled, and we're having very, very positive conversations.
And Russia controls that. In fact, some of those territories are now, from the Russian perspective, part of Russia.
Correct. That's correct. But this has always been the issue,
right?
And it's sort of no one wants to talk about it. That's the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is there are constitutional issues within Ukraine as to what they can concede to with regard to giving up territory. The Russians are de facto in control of these territories.
Yes.
The question is, will they be? Will the world acknowledge that those are Russian territories? Will it end up? Can Zelensky survive politically if he acknowledges this?
This is my video update on this Saturday afternoon, March the 22nd, coming to you from Limassol, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with Steve Witkoff's appearance on Tucker Carlson. The first time that I have heard Witkoff in a long form podcast. He had a good hour and 30 minutes to speak on various topics. And it was a very insightful, interesting discussion between Tucker and Witkoff. I definitely recommend everyone, if you have the time, to watch the full podcast on Tucker's X account. I believe he also has a YouTube channel as well, Tucker Carlson. But let's talk about the two main issues that they discussed: the Middle East and Project Ukraine. Now, Witkoff, he was only going to be the Middle East envoy, but Kellogg, who was slated to be the Ukraine envoy, turned out to be a big giant dud, and Witkoff has now taken over both of those regions. So the first half of the podcast, they discussed the Middle East and the negotiations between Israel, Hamas, and Qatar, Qatar mediating. And one of the more interesting parts of the discussion was talking about Qatar's role in the mediation, in the negotiations that are taking place between Israel, Hamas, and the United States. And Witkoff actually stated that he has not met with Hamas. He has not sat down with Hamas face to face, but he works via Qatar to negotiate with Hamas. So I thought that was an interesting revelation from Witkoff. But Witkoff said that obviously the situation is very complicated, and there's a lot at stake, because if things do not go well, then the region and many of the leaders in the region and the governments in the region could be in trouble. But he also said that he believes that a deal can be worked out, and not only a deal in Gaza, some sort of a settlement in Gaza. He didn't get into any of the details about what that settlement or what that deal could be. But he also talked about Iran as well. And so he said that he's had many meetings with Israel, with Netanyahu. He talked about Israel's position. When Tucker Carlson asked him, what is Israel looking for in a deal? He talked about that. Tucker asked him, what do you think Hamas is looking for in this deal? Witkoff also talked about what Hamas is looking for and what the U.S. and Israel will allow. And basically, his message was that in the short term, there could be some sort of Hamas presence. But Witkoff did say that in the future, in the medium long term, Hamas cannot be a part of any kind of government or any kind of solution in Gaza. So he did mention that. What else did Witkoff say? I was listening to him talking about his negotiations in the Middle East, and I got the sense that the Trump administration, they're looking for a solution to the entire region. And if they can find this solution, and it all hinges on Gaza. And Witkoff said as much. If you can find a solution in Gaza, then you can get some rapprochement. You can get rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Israel, and he talked about Syria as well. And he basically said that if you can solve Gaza, then you can unlock the potential of the entire region. At least that seems to be the plan, the strategy for the Trump administration. So I mean, that's what they're aiming for. At least that's the impression that I got listening to Witkoff, is that they're trying to find a way to get to some sort of a solution in Gaza, which will eventually unlock the potential of the Middle East. And you'll be able to then have agreements between Saudi Arabia and Israel, and they are looking at Syria. He did talk about Syria actually for a couple of minutes as well, and he said that it all hinges on Gaza. He said that when he was trying to negotiate the extension to phase one, the Witkoff Bridge is what they called it, to extend phase one of the ceasefire to try and get to phase two of the ceasefire, and he said that this broke down. I believe he did blame Hamas for it breaking down. That's what I remember him saying, that Hamas didn't agree to the extension. Witkoff did say that he was certain that military action in Gaza was going to follow up on the breakdown or the non-acceptance of his bridge proposal. So he mentioned that as well. I'm trying to remember what else he said. He talked about Iran quite a bit, but Tucker asked him about Iran, and he actually brought up the letter that Trump sent to Iran the other day, and he gave some details as to what that letter said to the Iranian officials. And according to Witkoff, Trump told the Iranian officials, basically, no nukes. Okay, we know that, no nukes, but I'm not looking for a conflict. I'm not looking for war. I want to find some sort of a deal. Can we make a deal? That's what basically that's basically what Trump told Iran in this letter. And he actually said that Iran has prepared a reply. They've actually replied to this letter, but he didn't get into any of those details. And Witkoff said, and this was interesting, he actually said it a couple of times, but towards the end of the podcast, he said that Russia can help mediate a solution with Iran. They speak to Iran, they can talk to Iran, and they can help mediate a solution with Iran, which would involve preventing Iran from getting nuclear weapons, with Russia mediating that and making sure that Iran does not get nuclear weapons. And the U.S. would be okay with that, with the Russian mediation in Iran. And the number one concern for Witkoff, for the United States, at least what Witkoff said, for the Trump administration, was the nuclear issue. They did have the JCPOA in Trump's first term, which he pulled out of. But anyway, he pulled out of it in his first term. We know the story there. But here we are back again with the nuclear issue for Iran, and that's the number one concern for the United States, and that's what Trump is looking for. That's Trump's main ask. We got to remove nukes. Get nukes off the table for Iran. Russia can help us do this, and then we can get to some sort of a deal. So that's what he said about Iran, which actually falls in line with our analysis on the Duran. Alexander was talking about this in a video that we recorded a couple of days ago, which was that Russia could be the mediator in some sort of U.S.-Iran talks. And it would be Russia that would make sure that Iran did not get nuclear weapons, something that the Trump administration is asking for, and something that Russia also doesn't want Iran to get nukes. Saudi Arabia does not want Iran to get nukes, and there are forces inside Iran that don't want Iran to go nuclear as well. But of course, there are forces in Iran that are saying we need to get nukes. It's the only way we can safeguard our security. So that was what he said about Iran. That was the Middle East. He then talked about Project Ukraine. That was the next big topic. Project Ukraine. And boy, did Witkoff say a lot of interesting things about Project Ukraine. Perhaps the most interesting thing that Witkoff said, in my opinion, was that the United States is moving towards June 2024 root causes Istanbul Plus. I think that was pretty obvious listening to Witkoff. I mean, he came out and said that the core issue in this entire conflict is those 5 regions. He started out by saying 4 regions, but then later on he said 5 regions, which is correct. Kherson, Zaporozhye, Lugansk, Donetsk, and Crimea. He said that's the key issue, those 5 regions. And he then went on to say that those regions are historically Russian. That's pretty much what Witkoff said in his statement. And Tucker backed him up on that. Tucker said, yeah, of course, those are Russian regions. So that was quite an admission. And Witkoff said that he's not sure if the Zelensky regime will be able to live with that reality, that the 5 regions will be recognized as Russian. So, I mean, listening to Witkoff, it was clear that the United States is absolutely moving towards an Istanbul Plus settlement. An Istanbul Plus settlement. The question is, will the Green Goblin agree to an Istanbul Plus June 2024 settlement? And the answer to that question is obviously no, he will not. And Witkoff said that there are going to be elections in Ukraine. He said that. He said that the Green Goblin and his right-hand man, Yermak, that's what he called Yermak, his right-hand guy. He said that they've understood that there will be no NATO and that there will be elections in Ukraine. Witkoff said 100% they're going to get elections in Ukraine. I thought that was the most interesting statement that he made about the territory. And to me, that signaled that we're going to be looking at Istanbul Plus June 2024 root causes as the negotiated settlement. He talked about Kursk. He said that Kursk is that Ukraine forces in Kursk are are surrounded. He said that. So Trump said that a couple of days ago, 2,500 Ukraine soldiers surrounded in Kursk. Witkoff said it's a fact. Ukraine military is trapped in Kursk. And he said that when he was talking with Putin, when he met with Putin, Putin brought it up to him. He said, look, what do you want me to do with this situation? You want a 30-day ceasefire, but we have a situation in Kursk where we have these Ukraine soldiers. They're trapped in Kursk. What do you want me to do? Do I let them go? Do I annihilate them? What do you expect me to do? That was the question that Putin threw back at Witkoff. And then Putin went on to say, and I thought this was super interesting. He went on to tell Witkoff, we have, I believe he said 70 or 80 situations across the entire front line, a huge front line, where we have the Ukraine military in a bad state, either trapped or surrounded or losing very badly. And Putin told Witkoff, what do you want me to do across the entire front line? Do you want me to just stop, just pause everything? And so Witkoff brought that up, which was quite revealing. He actually said that he likes Putin. He said, I like Putin. I went to Moscow. He said, I was Trump's emissary to Moscow. Putin did not need to meet with me because it's not the president of the United States going to Moscow, which would mean a president meeting with a president. He said, I was just the envoy, the emissary of Trump. But he said, Putin welcomed me to Moscow. He sat down with me, I believe he said, for 4 hours. And they talked about everything. It's a long time, 4 hours. And he said, Putin's super smart guy. Tucker agreed with him. Tucker said, yeah, I know. Tucker has also interviewed Putin. He said, I know, he's super smart. And he also said that Trump and Putin have a good relationship. He actually relayed a story about how, what Putin told him about how when Trump was shot, well, they tried to assassinate him, and in Pennsylvania, it grazed his ear, it hit his ear. He said that Putin actually prayed for Trump. He went to church and prayed for Trump, not because he thought Trump was going to be the next president of the United States and stuff like that, but because he liked Trump as a person. He considered Trump a friend. He liked Trump as a person, and he didn't want anything bad to happen to Trump. And I believe this. I'll tell you why I believe this, because as a Greek Orthodox, when something like this happens, if a friend or a family member has something happen to them, it's very common to go to a church, light a candle. You light a candle and you say a prayer for that person. So absolutely, I can see Putin going to the church and lighting a candle for Trump and hoping that he's okay. So I believe this story from Witkoff, what Putin told him. Absolutely, 100%. And then he said that Putin gave Witkoff a gift of a portrait from one of the best Russian artists of Trump, of the U.S. president, and he gave it to Witkoff. And he told him to take it back to the United States and give it to Trump. So, I mean, you know, he likes Putin. Witkoff says, I like Putin. Heads are going to explode from that statement, especially in the European Union. Boy, our head's going to explode. Kaya Kallas is probably going crazy. He said, what? He likes Putin? How dare he? Ursula, no, tatters. Witkoff, I'm telling you. Russia's in tatters. How can you like Putin? But yeah, that was an interesting segment of the podcast. Try to think, what else did they say? I mentioned no NATO. I mentioned Kursk. No election. The territories. That was a huge statement. The territories. Istanbul plus That's what we're looking at. And it does look like the United States is absolutely on board for Istanbul Plus, or it's getting there. It's getting to Istanbul Plus. Reality is starting to set in. I will say that Witkoff, I got the impression that while he's caught up a lot on the history and the nuances of Project Ukraine, I still feel like he still has a bit more to go, a bit ways to go for him to get a really good handle on everything that led up to the conflict in Ukraine. So I think that's what that's what he said. He said that Russia wants stability. Above everything else, Russia wants stability. Absolutely. We've said this on the Duran many times. And then he said that the United States and Russia can do business. He said that the US and Russia, once everything is solved, can do business. And he said, imagine the United States and Russia working together in the Arctic, working on energy projects. He said that. And Trump, the other day, he talked about Crimea being some sort of amazing resort that if they can figure out the conflict in Ukraine and get to a deal, then Trump said that he would like to turn Crimea into a big resort. He would like to help make Crimea into a big resort. That's what Trump allegedly said. This is according to Seymour Hersh, actually. Trump eyeing Crimea as international resort. The renowned American journalist has claimed that the U.S. president wants to do business with Putin. Actually, Seymour Hersh said that Trump would lift sanctions on Russia so that he can help turn Crimea into an international resort, working together with Russia, of course. Putin went to church to pray for Trump after the assassination attempt. He prayed for him like a friend, Witkoff said. As for the Europeans, he was asked about the Europeans. So Tucker also asked him, why are the Europeans, why is 008 Starmer, why are they going so crazy over Project Ukraine and over the fact that the United States is negotiating with Russia? And Witkoff said that in Europe, they're all trying to act like Churchill. They're all pretending to be the next Churchill. Are they watching my videos? I don't think so. But yeah, he said that. He actually said that. They all want to be the next Churchill. Tucker and Witkoff said that a lot of it is just posing and posturing and stuff like that from the Europeans and from the UK, from Starmer. But yeah, it's this desire to try and be Churchill because that's all they know. That's how far their knowledge of history goes. It's just Churchill and Neville Chamberlain. That's it. That's all they know. And so they're all fighting to be the next Churchill, according to Witkoff. But Witkoff did say that he has spoken to European leaders, and he actually told European leaders, look, you continue to encourage Zelensky to fight and to escalate, and you're doing Zelensky and Ukraine a big disservice. So stop encouraging Zelensky to escalate, because they're not going to win. They've lost this conflict. We're negotiating some sort of a settlement, and you're not making anything better for Ukraine and for the Ukrainian people. So he did say that. He talked to the Europeans. Now, if the Europeans listened, most likely not, definitely not. But he told them, stop egging Zelensky on. Stop doing it, because you're making the situation a lot worse, which is actually what Orban said a couple of days ago. He said pretty much the same thing. Let the United States negotiate with Russia and stop encouraging Zelensky to escalate, and stop giving Zelensky money and weapons, because you're not helping the situation. So that was the big interview, the big podcast interview between Tucker and Witkoff. Did you guys know that Zelensky wanted the phone call with Trump a couple of days ago? I believe Kellogg came out and said this, because Kellogg is the person that's dealing with the Green Goblin. That's Kellogg's job now, is to just deal exclusively with the Green Goblin. But Kellogg said that the phone call that took place between Trump and Zelensky a couple of days ago was because Zelensky was begging for it. So Trump did him a favor and said, okay, I'll talk to you. That's what, I believe that's what Kellogg said. So let's now talk about, what should we talk about next? On this beautiful Saturday afternoon in Limassol. So the Belgium Prime Minister, what's the dude's name? Bart de Wever. He warned that if the EU takes the Russian frozen assets, steals the Russian frozen assets, he said that would be an act of war. That's what he said, an act of war. And there's a reason that the Prime Minister of Belgium says this. It's because Euroclear is located in Belgium. And if they steal the Russian frozen assets, then Euroclear goes bye-bye. Bye-bye Euroclear. All the money leaves Euroclear. All the money leaves the European Union. And the economy of Belgium takes a huge, massive hit. So there's a reason that he's saying don't steal the Russian frozen assets. That would be a disaster. And he is right. He is absolutely right. Meanwhile, in the UK, Starmer continues to talk up escalation with Russia. That's right. Starmer's putting together another meeting, a 3-day meeting of European volunteers. They're now volunteers. It's not the coalition of the willing, it's the coalition of the volunteers. I'm not joking. It is the coalition of the volunteers now. And so the coalition of the volunteers, they're going to be meeting in the UK, and they're going to be talking about the next steps for escalation. That's what they're going to be talking about, the next steps. And the reports are that we're not talking about ground troops anymore. Forget about 30,000 soldiers going into Ukraine from the UK, France, and Denmark. It looks like that has gone goodbye. That is no more. The 30,000 troops into Ukraine. Starmer's spokesperson said that there will have to be troops on the ground, but he said it's going to be a few thousand. And what they're now talking about, what they're going to discuss, is air and sea security for the Zelensky regime if there's a ceasefire that's agreed between Russia and the United States. That's what they're now discussing. So we've gone from 30,000 troops into Ukraine, peacekeepers, as Starmer calls them, and we've now moved on to air and sea support. That's the plan now. If there's a ceasefire, then the UK and France and the coalition of the volunteers, I like it, the coalition of the volunteers, then they're going to provide air and sea security to the Green Goblin. And you know what Russia's going to say to that? And yet, not going to happen. No way. Starmer. Trying to be Churchill. Trying to be Churchill. 008. The most boring man in politics. Let's see, what does Politico say? UK to host further military planning sessions on Ukraine. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer promises more nuts and bolts talks on policing a Ukraine ceasefire. Pretty sad. It's pretty sad to see Starmer continue this theater. Pretty sad and pathetic. but also kind of expected from Starmer. Because the goal, one of the major goals in all of this, is to pull the UK back into the European Union. That's why he continues on with this UK European peacekeeping forces in Ukraine. And actually, in Politico, they hint at this. Here we go. Starmer confirmed the plans in a phone call with the President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and the leaders of Turkey, Norway, and Iceland on Friday. Europe must step up to meet the challenge of a different chapter of history, Starmer told allies as he announced 3 more days of military planning in London to be held next week. So you see what's going on? He's having discussions with EU officials, with that Costa guy, and with Van der Crazy. And it's all about pulling the UK back into the European Union through this type of military cooperation. That's what it's all about. So that's Starmer. And also in the UK, yesterday, was this yesterday or 2 days ago? I believe yesterday. But there was a fire at Heathrow. One of the substations at Heathrow caught fire. This was a big fire, and it grounded a lot of flights from Heathrow, which is a huge hub of travel. And the Starmer government, they're about to blame Russia for this fire in Heathrow. That's where they're going with all of this. At least the MI6. The MI6 is investigating the fire, and they are hinting at some sort of Russian involvement. Who would have ever expected that they would be blaming this fire in Heathrow on Russia? Well, I'll tell you who was actually expecting that. Dmitry Medvedev. Before the news broke that MI5, not MI6, MI5 was saying that Russia could be behind this fire in Heathrow, way before the news broke, Medvedev posted on X, "I'm looking forward to Russia being blamed for the Heathrow fire. What are you waiting for, Starmer?" And then some hours later, we got the news via the Telegraph, why MI5 will be checking very carefully for Putin's fingerprints on the Heathrow fire. Medvedev was right. He called it. He called it. I'm not surprised. I don't think anyone is surprised that they would try to blame Russia for this. I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked. Putin did it. Putin's to blame for a fire in Heathrow. Meanwhile, Ukraine is saying that the attack on Sudzha, the gas facility that was hit in Sudzha the other day, which does break the energy infrastructure ceasefire, Ukraine is reporting that Russia attacked the Sudzha gas facility so that they can blame it on Ukraine in order to sabotage the ceasefire. This is crazy, man. Crazy. So Putin is, let me just get this straight. Putin is starting fires in Heathrow, and he's also attacking his own gas facilities. Is that what's in Russia? Is that what's going on in Sudzha? Okay. Putin, man. Putin. It's all over the place. The Russian Ministry of Defense actually said that the attack in Sudzha on this gas facility was not artillery or drones. It was the Ukraine military. As they were retreating from this area, the Ukraine military decided to blow up that facility. So that's how it was done. That's really how it was done. That's the fact. The facts. The myth, the fake news myth, is that Russia did this in order to blame it on Ukraine. Oh man. So what else? Let's see. Let me try to remember. I have another topic, a news story that I just can't quite remember. Oh, okay. I remembered it. We are getting reports that the parliament in Ukraine, they're about to pass a law which will allow either the police or the National Guard to use violence against civilians if they're protesting. And we are getting reports, I can't confirm this, but there are screenshots floating around the interwebs, could be fake, but could be real, that the Zelensky regime is spending millions on purchasing tear gas for eventual protests in order to deal with protests and protesters. And the thinking is that when we get to a deal in the next few months, by the way, Witkoff said that in a couple of months, Trump and Putin could be meeting, and he said in a couple of weeks, we could be looking at a Black Sea ceasefire as well, a naval Black Sea ceasefire. But anyway, in a couple of months, the thinking is that there will be some sort of deal, Istanbul Plus. It's going to be impossible for the Zelensky regime to accept this. There's going to be all kinds of protests. And the Zelensky regime, they're looking to get violent with the protesters in order to prevent some sort of an overthrow of his government. That's why you have the purchase of tear gas. That's why you have the law in the parliament in order to get violent with protesters. I guess he's learning a lot of this from Macron. Macron knows how to get violent with protesters. So we have that as well. It seems that Zelensky is preparing for civil unrest, which appears to be an inevitable part of the peace process, given the influence of radical right-wing groups in Ukraine who have weapons and extensive experience in violence. Next week, the Rada may adopt a bill that grants the National Guard the authority to use lethal force against protesters, including firearms, tear gas, and drones. So let's do a clown world, and we can wrap this video up. What hotel is this? I think this is the Posidonios, I believe. I believe that's the name of this hotel. Poseidon. Can you guys make out that sign? Yeah, I think that's the name. Not a bad hotel. Pretty big. Pretty nice. I bet you in the summer. This is a nice area in the summer. All right. So, Clown World. Clown World. We're getting reports that Germany and Annalena, they're saying that Al-Jilani and his government, if you want to call it that, in Syria should join an anti-IS coalition. Germany calls on Syria to join the anti-IS coalition. German Foreign Minister Baerbock, we call on Syria to join the anti-ISIS coalition. It's a clown world. What is wrong with Germany, man? What is wrong with German politicians? Not Germany. What is wrong with these politicians in Germany? I guess it is a 360 kind of statement, isn't it? To tell Al-Jolani to join an anti-ISIS coalition. I guess it is a type of 360 statement. So it's pretty much in line with Annalena 360. I don't know. That's how I see it. Yep, Al-Jolani, join an anti-ISIS coalition. ISIS, join an anti-IS coalition. That makes sense. Oh, man. Crazy world we live in. Crazy German politicians. Not all of them, but a lot of them. At least the ones that are ruling. BlackRock Mertz is no better. He is no better than Schultz and Baerbock. He's going to be a lot worse, actually. So that's coming out of Germany. SL Campton. Percent of people who say that the next generation in their country will be better off than their parents. China, 69%. India, 66%. USA, 30%. Germany, 14%. This is a poll conducted by Edelman Trust Barometer, 2025. Germany, 14%. I think that tells you everything, doesn't it? So NBC News is reporting that Biden wants to make a political comeback. The former U.S. president has reportedly offered to help the Democratic Party as its popularity sinks. Yeah, Biden making a comeback. Just don't call it a comeback, as LL Cool J once rapped. Don't call it a comeback. But Biden wants to make a comeback. Bidenopolis, yes, I want Biden to make a comeback. I'm all for this. I want Annalena to be appointed as the UN General Assembly president. Absolutely. I want Biden to make a political comeback. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. The world needs Bidenopolis, Greece's favorite son. It's been kind of boring without Bidenopolis. Yeah, NBC is reporting that Biden wants to help the Democrat Party improve on their sinking polling numbers. You're the reason, Biden, that the Democrat Party is a mess. It's your fault. Does he not know this? Has someone not told him this? I don't know. He was eating ice cream. He was enjoying his ice cream over his 4 years as president. He has no idea what happened during his 4 years as president. I guess now someone is telling him all of the bad stuff that happened when he was president. I didn't know that. You mean a conflict in Ukraine? Really? Middle East? On fire? Really? I had no idea. The economy, a mess, inflation. When did all of this happen, Jill? Hunter? When did all of this happen, Hunter? Maybe Hunter wants to get back in the art game because his paintings are not selling for much anymore. So maybe he's telling his pops, look, get back in the political arena, and then maybe I can sell some more art. Or at least I could sell my art for more than $20. I don't know. Anyway, that's the clown world. That's the video, everybody. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop. Pick up some merch, like what I'm wearing in this video update. The link is in the description box down below. Beautiful tree, huh? Beautiful tree right there. You hungry, my friend? I got some snacks. Everyone always tells me to bring snacks for the cats. Well, I've got. Come here. Come here. Let's see how we're gonna do this. The camera may be a bit off, but we're gonna feed. Yeah, we'll get you some food. So someone sent me these treats for the cats, and I have it in my bag. And I'm out over here by the tree. Where'd you go? Come here. I'll open it. Just give me a second. The camera's gonna be all off. One sec, guys. One sec. Okay. Are we still recording? Are we still recording? Yeah, we're recording. Okay, buddy. Where should I give this to you? Come here. All right, my friend. Enjoy your meal. I gotta get this video up online. Any final words you want to tell the world as they watch you, Mr. Limassol Cat? Life is good. Life is good if you're a cat in Cyprus. All right, take care, buddy. All right, I'm out. See everybody tomorrow.